Welcome to the One Trail at a Time podcast. I am Boogie. Before we get started with this episode, want to tell you about helping me keep this podcast and channel going. I do not have any sponsors. I'm really not looking for any sponsors, but I am buying gear. I'm reviewing gear. I'm taking trips. And to help keep the content going, I am with Amazon affiliates, and I am putting links in my description of the gear that I use and the gear that I review. Uh, a couple people have purchased things since my links have become live over the last couple weeks, and I really do appreciate you. And your support does go a long way. Um, Also, I use the Brave browser. I am a certified or verified content creator with them. If you guys are using the Brave browser and you would like to contribute with cryptocurrency, I will accept that as well. I'm turning nothing down. Again, this is no peer pressure to anyone, but it does help me to keep this going, and I don't have to work as many hours and I can put out more content because I'd rather be connecting with my people. You. Um, Today's episode is about me coming to a harsh, and I do mean a harsh reality. I couldn't, I just can't believe it, more or less. And over the course since over the course of the last couple years since I've gotten my Rad Rover, and I guess this is with people with e-bikes in general, we are okay. Over the course of the last 2 years, me riding the e-bike and this whole thing with federal land and trying to allow e-bikes to share those same trails, this whole conversation has really opened my eyes to a world um, that e-bikes just aren't accepted in. And I thought that it was just with the e-bikes. So I took some time out and I looked up electric longboards for a while. For a while now, I wanted to get a boosted board. And being that I'm not a skateboarder, I am not familiar with that world. So I went down the rabbit hole to find out, are people upset about e-boards as well? And yeah, yes, they are. So for some reason, I guess the purists, we'll call them the purists when it comes down to the cyclists and the skateboarders, this community is hardcore and they really don't like us. Even though I started off in the cycling world, they they just I can cross over, but I guess since they haven't crossed over, they don't like it. And I don't and skateboarders, I really don't want to put words in your mouth. So I don't really understand what your beef is with it, because I mean it's not that they're going to skate parks with them, nor are they crowding the space of, when you're doing tricks in certain areas, because those boards just aren't made for that. um though I Quick story. So I do have a great respect for skateboarders. So at one point when I was a kid, I did have a skateboard. It was a cheap one and I really didn't learn how to ride it that well. I was a BMX guy. So at one point, we're talking late 80s, early 90s. I'm gonna say, let's go back, mid 80s, early 90s. It was a movie that came out. It was called BMX, and all I wanted to be was this tricked out BMX rider. That movie, you probably couldn't find it anymore. You can probably find some things on it on YouTube. So after you watch this, watch a couple clips of the movie BMX. And this is for people that's my age and older that would actually remember this movie. But this was like the beginning era of the BMX bikes and doing tricks. And for a while, there was some really stiff competition with these bikes out there. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be this trick rider with BMX. But of course, I never achieved that high level of riding, but I did okay. Um, One thing that really elevated my respect for skaters and BMX riders was, and this is before it became super huge and the Olympics stole some of their things, the X Games. The X Games started way back in the 90s, and that's where I learned about Tony Hawk. And that I seen him in his youth do some things, and I'm not afraid to admit that. Uh, growing up, growing up watching the X Games as a teenager, man, it was spectacular. I hadn't seen people do tricks like that. I didn't even know that that world really existed in that manner. Okay, so that the X Games really did open up some things, and also the X Games apparently got so big that the Olympics stole some of their things. Nope, I won't say that the Olympics stole. The Olympics realized that that was such a growing phenomenon that they had to get in on it. And do I have to break down the games, the actual sports that came from the X Games? I'm not. You guys look that up. But back to e-bikes and e-skateboards and this competing community. I- I'm trying to understand what is the beef about. I'm not trying to compete in any cycling events, nor do I want to m- modify or change the way that um, these cycling competitions work. I don't want e-bikes to be in these cycling competitions. I don't. I don't have any um, problems with cyclists riding on the road in their onesies. I don't have an issue with that at all. I don't know why they have an issue with me. And it's just weird. It's just weird how this is a conversation of who is a cyclist and who's not. Uh, is it? I don't know. All I know is I can get a lot. I can get more miles than someone riding a regular pedal bike. So there you have it. I know that the people that ride e-boards, they're just going from point A to point B. That bike isn't designed to do any tricks on it, and the e-bike that I have isn't designed to do tricks with. So it's not like I am trying to enter into that space. So I don't know. I'm not, trying to do any downhill competitions with it. And here's the odd thing, right? So here's the odd thing. Uh, I have I have two things that's going against me when it comes down to my particular e-bike. One is a fat bike, which people frown upon, and is the e-bike. So now it's two things that people don't like. Go figure. So oddly enough, I think it's the road cyclists that have issues with e-bikes because e-bikes are becoming more and more common with people that is doing downhill recreational. So, um, you know, and they're shelling out good money, five, $10,000 for their bikes. And the reason, and they get into riding e-bikes on the incline so they can make it up these mountains so they can ride downhill more, so they could do more trails in a day. And I get that, so I don't understand why cyclists don't want to share the road with me. I mean, let's think about this. Let's put one thing. Let's put this one thing in perspective, right? There is no need for us to be at competition or at war with one another. Because if you're on the road and I'm on the road, our worst enemy is the driver that's not paying attention or the driver that doesn't want to share the lane with us. So we really need to dial back whatever aggression that we have with one another and really figure out how do we coexist and just have that mutual respect. Cause I don't, like I said, I started off riding bikes, still ride regular non-motorized bikes. I just prefer, I just prefer with my knee situation to ride an e-bike. It makes trips more enjoyable. One, two, and this is the biggest thing. I guess this is really number one. The e-bike keeps me active. The worst thing you could do to the human body is allow the pain to sit you down. E-bikes allow me to get up. And just maybe that skateboard, that e-board does the same thing for a skater who used to ride, who may have some sort of injury that doesn't allow them to kick push like they used to. Um, it's really a thing. But I would love to continue this conversation in the comment section. Also, I do reach out to the community and I don't mind talking to anyone at any time. If you guys want to have a conversation about e-bikes, e-bikes, e-boards, regular cycling, regular skateboards, all that good stuff. Because I really want to come back with another video and have some good understanding of why the community is torn, and I don't want it to be, I, I don't want it to be a e-use versus full human power. I don't want it to be that. I just want to have a good conversation. That's one of the places where I really want to take the podcast is having a good conversation about my outdoor experiences, what I experience, and what makes us happy, and how can we be safe out there? Because number one, our biggest thing that we have to worry about, no matter what we're on, we're exposed to the elements, we're exposed to traffic, we're exposed to idiots, and we all have to deal with it. So we shouldn't be in competition or having conflict with one another. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up and I'm gonna leave it right here, and I'm gonna leave a open invitation to have this conversation with anyone on the pros and cons. I am not opposed to talking to a person that feels that I am riding the devil's motorcycle or something because it's an e-bike. Shout out to Rad Power Bikes for putting out one of the best bikes on the market right now. I went back and just did some research on them, and they are really, really doing their thing. They are really, really doing their thing in America right now. And I am glad that there are more people on these e-bikes, because that really uh, opens up the conversation for us to do more things in the future. So, Red, keep doing what you're doing. Also, there's still some concerns that I have about what I would like to see done. If you want to know my full opinion, Rad, of the things that I would like to see, one, you can watch my videos on it, or I am happy to come to your showroom and play on some of your bikes, and you can school me, and let's talk about why you are what is your marketing strategy, and how did you come to the decisions that you made? That's really what I want to know. I'm not saying that you are not by far you are putting out a bad product. I'm just wanting to know, when it comes down to the economic motivations, what were they? And maybe what we can do to fit more in the package. Rad, are you open for that conversation? Thank you for joining me on the One Trail at a Time podcast. Again, live life one trail at a time, and I'll see you in the next one.